Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy Viewers, and we are back early with our free-to-play roster update series and the rough structure that we've established here. Major unlocks, in this case it's more starring, galactic legend progress. We have a good amount of work that we are going to put forth towards Leia, kind of related to some of these other topics like ships and pilots, definitely doing some of that. Datacrons, Omicrons, all that. We are going to do some Datacron related gearing because we got a new set. We need to take advantage. Then we will touch upon any other weaknesses depending on the gear and the surplus that we are looking at. We're going to start with a brief look at the spreadsheet. This is the heat map that I keep referring to, but all we really care about seeing here is just a lot of the colors are disappearing. All I have left on Leia is carbonate circuit boards, signal data, and Kairos in very low amounts. We're nearing double digits with a lot of it. We're working on the easier to farm signal data, and the carbonate circuit boards, we're going to have those done well in advance of finishing or even starting any farming on Captain Drogon. On top of that, as we look through this, that last column here, not the last column, but this column here, this is referring to the gear that is needed for Lord Vader, and I'm also in a pretty good position here where we are now in a surplus situation for all gear pieces that are not Kairos. Basically, that means for getting Leia and Lord Vader, we're in a situation where we're just looking at relic materials and signal data. And that surplus ability means that we can start working on different kinds of characters and doing a little bit of advanced prep. Now is a position where I can feel like I can put a little bit of gear towards Lord Vader, even though I'm actively working on Leia. For this week, we are doing this in a different order. We are starting with the Datacrons. I already rolled everything, but what's relevant here is one of the Datacrons that I went after, Princess Kneesaa. Usually with these newer characters where I don't have a lot of relics, I don't go after Datacrons like this one. Like, you didn't see me go after the Marin one, even though that was a very good Datacron, but I didn't have a lot of relics on the relevant characters. Kneesaa right now with the Ewoks, I don't have any relics. But now, because I have that surplus, even though that first column, I didn't go into it today, but Jedi Knight Cal Kestis is coming very shortly, and I don't want my Leia progress to impact unlocking or gearing up Jedi Knight Cal Kestis right away. And because but with Leia, and because it is currently a 3v3 season, we can pursue these Ewoks and take advantage of this Datacron. And we're now at a position where we are done with Kneesaa, ready to star her up and take advantage. And from the spreadsheet, what I am able to track here, because with the surplus, because we do have the Jedi Knight Cal Kestis event returning, and we don't want to impact our ability to relic him up immediately. What I can see here is that I have a surplus of about 200 Cairo computers, 350 Cairo prods, so I can feel comfortable putting down that amount onto the Ewoks without impacting my ability to relic up Jedi Knight Cal Kestis right away. So that means Princess Kneesaa here, she gets her star. And we are going to take her, and from here, so we got droid collars, I still need those back to gels. Those are pieces I'm being mindful of. And then here, the finisher is the Cairo prod. Take her up right away. We have enough signal data to do this, but I think I'm going to be a little conservative with signal data, so we're just going to go to Relic 5 right now, even though we need her at Relic 7 for Leia. Because we only need it at Relic 5 for the Datacron. That will just ensure that I'll have enough signal data for Cal Kestis when he returns, and just in case something else happens. We're just going to retain flexibility where we can find it, and this is one of the places where we can find it. Even though we have the relic materials, we have the signal data. But I like to be careful. And then depending on the results of this Datacron, then I might change my mind in a week. And that brings us to Chirpa. Take him, well, I'll show the Cairo. So this is a Cairo prod, so that's 200. We can use up 350 of those safely. I don't even remember what that cron does, but we're not going to consider it. Not right now. One of my metrics for those Omicrons has always been, does it stop nest? And I was never satisfied with the answer because it was no. And that's what I wanted from it. Okay, so Chirpa is complete, and that will bring us to Wicket, Cairo Computer. We can spend 200 of those safely. And Wicket here we can take up to relic 3, and we can safely use the Datacron come this next Grand Arena. We'll drop those down. And continue. And you know what? Nothing's holding us back. Let's just do Akbar right now. Akbar uses the computer, so that means we're done using Cairo computers for today. Even though we've got a good amount of time. I only need 85 more to be both Cal Kestis and Leia ready, but this way, if we get a new marquee in the coming weeks, I can adjust and accommodate that as well. And I think we'll touch on Lobot as well, because we're pretty safe with these materials. Yeah, because with Cal Kestis, I only need 75 to take him up to Relic 5. That's where I'm going to start. That's what I did with Malicos, Third Sister. Obviously, we'll be taking them higher when the time comes, but for now, we're just going to work with Relic 5, because that's cheap. And then as we learn the characters, learn the modding, learn the kits, then we will push things. Because then I can make it, it's not so much whether or not the characters deserve it, but does he deserve it more than somebody else? Because these are the choices we got to make as a free-to-play player. There's always an opportunity cost that we need to factor into our calculations. We are going to leave relics off of Rex though, because I want to do some additional Gear 12 testing for Rex come the next 5v5 season. We also have ships to do. Here's how far I got with the Marauder. We got it to 6 stars. Maybe I should have done the 200 crystal refreshes. If I had done those every day, I think I could have gone up to, I definitely could have reached 7 stars. We'll see what kind of testing we get out of it. I was actually even thinking of adding relics to some of the Bad Batch, but I think we're going to take it easy with that this week, because I would like to get a feel for the Marauder with Gear 12 pilots, so at least in the future I can always offer perspective on that. And right now I don't have much of a perspective at all on the Marauder. And that covers the priority gearing that I wanted to do in this video. But what I do think I want to take on is I want to do a couple more of these pilots now. With the testing that I've done with these guys in Conquest, I think I definitely want to take them higher. Talked a little bit about this before with the Gauntlet, how you wanted it weaker for the profundity counter. But if you are using Empire ships like the Scythe as the Leviathan counter, then it doesn't make sense to retain ships that you can't field a full fleet for a profundity counter. So you can safely add gear to these pilots. So I'm no longer going to do it. I do feel like this squad is missing something from the Conquest testing that I did. Well, that is a feeling that's in flux. And I will do this by gear tier. There's a few other pilots I want to address. Now that the Marauder is around, that means some of these weaker pilots we can start addressing. And the larger impact of the Marauder is the viability, the new viability of a number of Galactic Republic pilots, which means Plo Koon and Jedi Consular. I'm going to take the opportunity to add some gear to them. It's not that important. Same thing with young Lando. They say the fleet adds viability. There's also the Negotiator version, which looks to be stronger, doesn't necessarily need all the same things, but we're going to just do all the pilots anyway, because we have the luxury to do that with the excess of gear that we have in a lot of places. And actually, I wasn't paying attention to how many of the Bacta gels that I spent. So we're not going to do Lando. We will do Plo Koon. That's just one of these. I'm actually really close to being just done with these altogether. So I feel comfortable putting that one on. And then we will head over here to Jedi Consular. He needs this HoloLens. I've got a good surplus of those. This is a little bit more annoying though, because it is part of a finisher. A little bit more rare, but you will need it at Gear 12. And then another Bacta gel. We're safe putting just one. It was more that young Lando needed 2. And we'll fully upgrade here. And then we will have all pilots at a minimum of Gear 12. That takes care of 2 pilots. So now we were just down to young Lando. And before we wrap up, I think I'm going to do one more thing to address some of the weaknesses within my roster, just to strengthen things up, and that is because it overlaps with Lord Vader. We're not going to take anybody to relics because it's going to be a little bit more expensive with the Kairos, and that I can't afford, but I can afford to put down these pieces on the right hand side. And because this is a team that I use in 3v3, this is a character I use in 3v3, adding that extra health, adding this extra speed is going to improve him a little bit. bit. But again, we're done with Chirocutors, so that's not an option right now. And we'll drop the left-hand piece on Echo, make him a little bit stronger, and then that means we're done with the left hand for all of Lord Vader. And if I was feeling, well, we don't need to worry about Zam right now. We don't need to worry about any of that. I want to do the Marauder testing where we are. I think this is where we'll wrap up. So that gets us a lot closer to Leia. We are in a position that as soon as I am done farming Drogon, we are going to be able to unlock Leia. All the other materials are going to be collected by well in advance of that point, probably within the next couple weeks. And that means we're probably a month and a half of Drogon becoming farmable from having Leia. So maybe right around December, because what I think is going to happen is we'll get double drops for the 1 year anniversary right around Thanksgiving, and that means right then I will probably be able to finish Drogon because he'll be farmable within the next couple weeks. That is going to very much boost up my roster. We'll be also working. The next thing that we're going to do is in that spreadsheet, we're going to take into account the gear for Leia so we can prep her for relics in advance, and we're even going to look at the gear for Lord Vader. From there, we'll see what CG does. They'll probably introduce some more characters, some new marquees. Maybe we get something in that Afra Starkiller mini journey kind of project. But we'll wrap it up. Thank you for watching. Be excellent to each other, everyone. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.